welcome back to ASOS of Kingstray for our 42nd reread, linear reread to the Song of Ice and Fire. We're here to answer the great question. And my name is Adam. I'm drownedsnow on the forums. And today I am joined by Matt.
Hey guys, Varley on the forums.
Marie.
Yeah, so hi, it's Mary and Nymeria on the forums.
Hannah.
Hey, shadowbabies lurking around every corner.
And backup recorder. Blip, 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 blip.
Beep, bloop, blop.
All right. So today we have a short set of chapters here. We're going to be covering Sam 1 from A Storm of Swords. That is the first Sam chapter in the series. And then, let's see, we have as well Jon II and Arya 4 also from A Storm of Swords. So, let's see. Why don't we just dive right in? These chapters take place from November 9th of 299 to November 13th of 299. So, there's a lot to unpack here. We start off with Sam, and that picks up, I believe, right after the epilogue, right?
Yeah.
So, Sam and the rest of the crew are on the Fist of the First Men. It's miserable. Shit's going down. No one's happy. Anyway, yeah, so, they're up north. It is what it is. Basically, they're walking away from the defeat at the Fist of the First Men due to an army of undead bastards. And Sam takes some time to recount what happened. So the horn goes off and shit goes crazy because it's the horn for others and no one's ever heard the horn for others and they're all going crazy. And right away he's up on them ravens, gotta get these ravens out. And he manages, I think he gets 2 of them off, nothing messages, and then he, tries to get into, back into the battle, and Mormont's like, dude, ravens, that's all you're good for. Deal with the ravens. So he tries to handle the ravens. He notes that they're firing a lot of arrows, which are doing no good, and then Mormont tells them to use fire arrows, which seem to do a little bit better. He's just hearing crazy stuff that he doesn't even know what's going on, really. And he's basically, does he piss his pants? I think he probably does.
Doesn't he piss his pants so much that he thought he didn't have any urine left? He pissed him
Yes.
Yeah. He's like, what's a bladder? I don't need a bladder. Let's just keep it flowing. Yeah. So he's remembering all of this, and he doesn't want to be remembering all this. He's trying to forget it as they're retreating back towards the wall, but he can't seem to get it out of his head because it's all very graphic and traumatizing, and he's at probably the early stages of PTSD here, I would say. But in the end, before they left, he let the rest of the ravens go, but forgot to do the messages. The whole time he was like, I'm going to be ahead of the game. I'm going to write down these messages ahead of time. And he put a whole bunch of messages down just in case. And then he was writing stuff as they go, and then he forgets to attack. Great job. So they're going to get a whole bunch of ravens with no messages and be like, what the fuck just happened? So as they run off, they do some stuff like splitting up supplies among horses, because that's the smart thing to do, not important. Eventually, Sam, Gren, and Paul fall behind, and Sam is just he's done. He's done with life. He's tired. At one point, I think, he says? He's like, I'll just rest a little and sleep and maybe die a little. He just wants to lay down in the snow and die. And his friends are, keep pushing him along until they're attacked by the others. It doesn't go well for some of them, but it does go well for Sam because he forgot his sword. And normally that would be a bad thing. He left his sword in the Fist of the First Men. He's got an empty scabbard. Terrible. But he reaches for his knife, and he reaches and grabs the wrong knife, the obsidian knife. Again, normally this would be a mistake, but because Sam is awesome, this is the exact right thing to do. He grabs his obsidian knife and kills another. Plunges it up into his jaw, and then the other just dissolves magically, which is amazing. And then the dragon glass, it becomes absolute zero, and no one can touch it because it's super cold. And they're all like, dude, you're Slayer. And then he's the hero. The end.
Yeah, Sam pulled a Homer and succeeded despite idiocy.
Yeah, he failed upward this whole chapter.
It It's just like, dude, you had one job.
I'm trying to remember wasn't it even worse on the show? Like,
Yeah, on the show, like, he just ran away. Well, on the show, first of all, like, the season ends with, like, him surrounded by the army of the dead. And
right.
Ends with him, like, running towards a beheaded brother, and Mormont just, like, bitch slapping him out of nowhere. He's like, "Where the fuck's the Ravens? You had one job."
They're like, "We're getting out of here." Yeah, like they like the show just cuts away from everything. But I think on the show, he was just like, "Oh yeah, none of the Ravens." Like, at least here he got one or two off with some small messages. And then when, like,
a murder
of Raisins comes back to Castle Black with nothing, then everyone's like, "What the hell happened?" But
and isn't that related in, like, a Tyrion chapter, like, a little later, that, like, when they're trying to tell
in King's Landing they get news from the wall, like, so all of our people are on the other side of the wall, and we got a bunch of Ravens back, and we don't know what's going on.
Right, like Mormont feared dead with all parties or whatever.
Yeah, send bread and maybe some extra men. I don't know.
Yeah, but didn't they just do that in the previous linear reread where they're like, "Oh, we should send the gold cloaks that ran to the wall and only break the knees of a couple of them"?
Yeah.
No,
it wasn't.
They didn't though. They wanted to, right?
Yeah. They talked about it in the chapter, but it wasn't. It wasn't because of the news from the wall, because we're doing this chronologically, so they couldn't have news of the wall yet.
It was just because Tyrion had been to the wall and was like, "Well, they could use these guys," and Tywin was like, "Yeah, fuck that. Like, I'm not going to bother sending these guys to the wall."
Don't you think that, like, if you knew that this shit was going on and you already have, like, a system in place, a protocol for when there's, like, whites around with the horns, wouldn't you, like, preload those messages? Like, what are you on?
You wouldn't preload white messages because you're like, "What the fuck?" But yeah,
they already know there's whites, because that's the whole fucking point. Like, Mormont already got attacked, Jon II already got fucked up. Wouldn't you just be prudent and, like...
Or others, I guess, because the horn is for the others, right? And they haven't seen an other before now.
A couple different ones, like, loaded and ready to go. Like, okay, wildlings attacking.
Well, see, that's what he was trying to do. He had, like, wanted to have a couple messages ready to go, but he didn't put them on the Ravens because he didn't want them to accidentally fly off with an incorrect message.
Right.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying, like, okay, I'm not saying on the bird, but I just mean, like, already scribbled out the majority of it, and then you can fill in your location. Like, that seems it would take so much less time.
That's kind of one of the better parts of the chapters where he's scribbling down all the notes. He did a few extra, he like pre-wrote a few, and then he's like, "We're winning, we're driving them back. Oh God, no, we're all gonna die." He's like writing all this down, not doing anything else, not sending any.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's like,
yeah,
he has time to write scenarios. All of them down. I'm like, this is a great play-by-play, but you could have at least sent, like, the first couple ones, right? Like, I don't know.
But I feel like he didn't even say that there were whites attacking. Like, the first messages he sent, the only one he actually managed to send were being attacked, but he doesn't say, like, in a sense that it's almost the most crucial information, because they're not being attacked by wildlings. Like, everyone is going to be suspecting or expecting. I mean, the others are coming back, and that's huge news. They have to make that to the wall.
Do you feel like they almost thought of like the wildling army as, like, they were going out there to look for the wildling army, and then, like, they found all those dead bodies and stuff in the first book, and they think, like, well, that's the wildlings that did that, and then this whole zombie thing at Castle Black is a weird new thing, and they kind of don't connect them entirely.
Yeah, I feel like they don't really. Like, Sam prepares a bunch of messages, but none of them. I mean, even before the others actually arrive, he prepares a bunch of messages, but none of them mention that possibility.
Yeah. I feel like they. I mean, and it's brought up in the books. It's like, even Tywin's like, "What do we care about wildlings? Like, let them overrun the North. Like, the North will be busy fighting them." But, like,
that's an asset for me. If they overrun the North, I can go drive them out later if I have to.
Yeah, and when the real enemy is the others and the whites. I like how in the very beginning of the chapter, Sam wakes up and he's like, "Oh, hey, Chet, hey, buddy, what's up?"
Yeah.
they're about to slaughter him.
He's like, I'm ready to kill you.
Yeah. It's like he doesn't even wonders why is Chet there. Like,
Yeah, I do wonder, like, the whole horn thing is another thing that I've always thought was weird because, you know, they have this whole thing where wouldn't someone at some point, like, accidentally blow the other signal? Like, they all know it, and it's all, you know, it's distinct enough that they all know, like, oh, this is, like, you know, it's basically like if we had a fire alarm that meant, like, Godzilla was attacking. We'd be like, oh, that's the Godzilla fire alarm. Wait, that's the Godzilla fire alarm? Like, Godzilla's not real. So it's weird. I don't know. Like, they all know what it is, and yet, like, they don't question it more.
And if you were the wildlings, wouldn't you just blow one blast on a horn and, like, be like, let in? Because they can't identify you from up atop the wall. They're just, like, dressed in black and kind of just sneak into Castle Black. No?
Yeah. Well, but then again, it's not a big company. I guess you could be like, I'm a new guy at the Shadow Tower. You could pretend, but
yeah, Eastwatch by the Sea reporting in.
It's just very theatrical, you know, the whole horn thing. Like, it's very powerful when the third blow comes and stuff like that. So obviously for the writing, it works very well, but you can indeed wonder why. I mean, it seems like fairly simple signals, and that there would be more mistakes.
Yeah, because you would think, like, what if you blew the horn once or twice or something? You're like, I don't think they heard me, you know, and, like, you wait a minute and you go, I'm gonna blow it again, you know. Like, you think there'd be, like, accidental other alarms, you know, that happen, but
I was gonna say they should have more of a system like a bosun whistle. So, you know, there's different, like, on a ship, like, different things mean to starboard or to port, and it's, like, very distinctive. It's almost like a Morse code. So it does. Yeah. It's not just like, okay, I'm gonna blow the horn. Well, how loud or how long, or is it staccato? Like, no.
But yeah, the main takeaway from this chapter is that Sam gets an awesome nickname and is kind of the man from now on. Like, he doesn't seem to do anything right, but it always seems to work out for him. It's like a big head in Silicon Valley.
Well, despite whatever he says, he's no craven in this chapter. I mean, when he's actually like, go and fight, he does fight in a sense.
Yeah.
I mean, could have just froze and it would have just stopped there, but he did fight, so not such a craven.
Yeah. And what is it? Gren says as much, right?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, definitely. And it's our first Sam chapter, which is it's always nice getting new POVs during this dinner reread.
Yeah, and we finally get in his head here.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I like Sam chapters. I like Sam as a character. So, you know, he's always well intentioned, and yeah, he has his moments where he's like, well, you know, because a lot of people would have froze, right?
Yeah.
Then we I don't know, like, it's so weird because, like, we were talking about with Chet at the beginning of the chapter, and then later on we get, you know, we say goodbye to Small Paul, and that was like, I don't know, because Small Paul's, you know, he's like kind of that simple-minded character, and he just wanted, you know, Mormont's Raven. Really, I'll kill who I have to get to, you know, because I want the Raven. Like,
but like in this chapter, he's almost touching, you know, like I would carry you, but I'm sorry I can't. But I would I can't anymore, and it's like,
yeah,
it's just simple.
I mean, how far did he carry him? He carried him quite a while, I think. Right?
Yeah, quite a while. Well, I just wanted to say, because you were saying like the three, the others signal, like they still have it, and it's kind of weird. In France, we do have, like, every first Wednesday of the month, at midday, we have a big alarm in every town, everywhere in France, and it's just, I'm not even sure what it's for. but I think
it's like the air raid siren or something.
Yeah, it was instated when I don't know. I don't know for what threat exactly, but I think the official rules is that if this alarm is used at any other moment, you're supposed to I don't know, listen to the radio or like just try to get what's going on from the authorities and know what you have to do, like if it's I don't know, biologic threat or germs attacking, or I don't, but it's like it feels very obsolete. I feel like at the times it was actually about the Germans, and obviously we don't feel that anymore. But still, every first
Well, it's
Wednesday.
kind of weird. Like they test it you said once a month, or?
Yeah, once a month.
Huh. It's weird. I guess
Yeah.
you got to make sure the system still works.
Yeah, but it's like, yeah, it's kind of weird. So and I don't know what it's actually supposed to be used for, and I don't know if many people do know. So it's just like the others signal that everyone knows, but it keeps on even though no one thinks it's real.
I mean, I guess like very quickly they find out that it is real here, but but it's just the reaction from everyone when that blows. Everyone's like, they look at each other like, oh no, it's going down. And I guess because like I said, they did have the whites at Castle Black, but some of them still seemed very skeptical about the whole ordeal. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
So yeah, I just wanted to say poor small Paul. All he wanted was a raven, and then
Corn.
Sam pulled like the mill house where it's like, no, you guys go on without me, but take me with you.
Yeah. I'll just lay down and die a bit. Is that okay?
I can't go any further.
I'm just gonna have a sport of the death. All right. But it's just like the way he does it is so like, I'm just too tired. And I mean, honestly, he's been through a lot. It's super cold up there. He's not in good shape.
No.
I get it.
Yeah.
I would be poor guy.
How can you be on rations in like the super cold and still so fucking fat?
Well, number one, that's probably your mind because of the show and the actor of the show. I'm sure he's lost a little bit of weight, but he hasn't been there that long yet, right? What has it been, like 6 months up there for him?
Yeah, but
Not
6 months of at least physical activity. Like by all accounts, he wasn't doing shit at home.
Yeah, like he's gonna have some physical activity, but I guarantee you, he's like finding food wherever he can find it. Like, I don't know, man. He may be on rations, but it's like maybe some of the other brothers are like, oh, this bread tastes like shit, and he's like, I'm eating it anyway. Give me yours. So
I think that when they're in Castle Black, they're not really on rations per se. Like they don't, like no one seems to be aware that they're actually up north and that winter is coming and that they need to save food, at least not before.
That's true.
So I think they're not exactly rationed. Like he's probably not eating as much as he would want, but he still has fair rations.
I disagree.
They seem to just like they can go to the kitchens and stuff if they really want to, right? I mean, like they work in the kitchen, some of them, so it's like no one's really. It's like they all go to Molestown, like if you want an extra potato. Oh wait, do they have potatoes? I don't know.
But okay, so I think if there's one thing Bowen Marsh can do is figure out ration, and I think that they are on winter. Like they haven't gotten on winter rations yet. I think they do that in like Dance with Dragons, but that's when they have like a ton more mouths to feed.
Yeah.
So and they realize, oh man, winter's hit. I guess because like up there, it feels, especially to people from the south, it feels like it's always winter up there. And they're like, well, things are going pretty well. Like we've got enough food. We don't have that much men here. And then they get a huge population increase, and the real winter hits, and supplies stop coming, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, they go down and check out all their stores and stuff like that, and I think they're still doing pretty good.
Well, for a crew of a couple hundred at the wall, like they should be good for a bit. But I mean, like we've had this discussion in previous chapters, I think, because you're talking about like a winter that's going to last like 10 years or whatever. I don't know any amount of preparation for them is going to help. They're going to need outside help because supplies don't last that long, even in the cold cells. But
yeah, in a sense, the whole thing at the wall, it almost feels like it was so. I mean, like they're not really prepared. Like you feel they don't have money. The Iron Throne just doesn't care. So you wonder, even without the others and everything, you kind of wonder how they would have survived. And it's kind of weird because it feels like they existed for so long, but in the writing, it's almost like that you don't really see how it would have worked. Even if everything was normal, you feel like there's issues with the consistency of the whole thing.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess they've relied on, well, when we need stuff, we can, like the king will send it or whatever.
Yeah.
Because they've abandoned the gift, like they're
exactly.
not self-sufficient at all.
But when you see how everyone reacts to the Night Watch in King's Landing, you're like, well, how was it the previous winter? Like,
Well, certainly the Northern Lords probably give 80%, at least, right, of their aid comes from, the Starks and Umbers and all the people further north.
But the northern people are not much better. I mean, it's quite harsh for them too, and they also have to store quite a lot and still get exterior help, I think. So
yeah, and like what is it? They have the Winter Town at Winterfell where people from everywhere show up and hang out right outside the castle because the castle's so well provisioned.
Yeah. And old people will just go hunting and never come back because they don't want to be a useless mouth to feed. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, son, I spotted a bear. I'm gonna track him. I'll be back. Never. It's like I spotted a bear is like the equivalent of like going for smokes. I'll be back.
Daddy went for smokes 11 years ago.
All right. Do we have anything else to say on this chapter?
Well, maybe I'll bring it up in my chapter, but there seems to be a wide array of animals with, do we ever get an idea of how they reanimate stuff?
Magic.
That's the safe answer, yeah.
In my chapter,
the Great Other uses his +4 mace of revival.
Almost every human gets reanimated, but only certain.
Oh yeah, you're right. I guess that makes sense because there are maybe less animals up north with the wildling on the move, hunting and stuff. But I mean, couldn't they reanimate they could have zombie squirrels and stuff if they wanted? I mean, they have a few they have some horses and bears and stuff here and there, but
yeah, I just don't understand. In my chapter, there's a bunch of dead horses that everyone's looting, and it's why are the horses not reanimated? I just don't understand I guess the rules of reanimation of the dead. Maybe that's a good thing.
# other problems. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. So again, Sam, he's the Slayer, and that's pretty cool. Yeah. Both him and Buffy. All right. So let's mosey on forward here. Let's see, where are we going? We are going 2 days ahead to 11/11/299, and that is Jon II. And I believe that's 3 chapters back in the published order.
So I had a hard time with this chapter because it's bonkers and everywhere. So it's a Jon POV. So basically, he's just having a hard time reconciling his vows with getting random boners and then maybe having to kill Mance. And And basically we get a good snapshot of like all the weirdo wildling people. We get a description of giants, which old Nan had said looked like big humans, but Jon's looking at them and they look gross and they have hard and horny feet. And apparently Jon can't count more than 50 giants, but whatever. Tormund features big in this chapter. He goes from like a total bro to a good drinking buddy to a wingman to a really like creepy bestiality person. So we get a little bit of his origin story, and Jon wonders if Tormund the Hornblower means the Horn of Jormund, because he has to obsess about that for a little bit. Tormund tells a story about he got so drunk one time he fucked a bear and apparently impregnated her.
He slept inside her belly and fucked her and impregnated her.
No, that was a giant that he slept inside her belly, and he still misses giant's milk.
Don't they all end up being the same thing? Or I can't remember now.
No, he's Giantsbane rather than Giant's Child or whatever. So he fucked a bear, lost half of his dick, but don't worry, that's bigger than anyone else's dick anyway. And he looks forward to finding the bear again. So it wasn't just like, a one-time kind of bear fucking thing. He is, the father of hosts. Anyway, Tormund's a good wingman in this chapter, as he's telling Jon, to take a fucking hint from Ygritte and that she likes him. And Jon's in his head, he's like, well, I'm using Ghost as a condom because, he's preventing us from fucking. And later Ygritte says, you can tell Ghost to leave now. Let's see. In the wildling culture, gingers are lucky and they're kissed by fire. And that we get a description of Ygritte. She has a round peasant face with fetal alcohol syndrome eyes and a husky voice. Let's see. Jon, it comes up that Jon doesn't want to father a bastard because he's a little bitch. So Jon runs through the 3 good wildlings that he's met: Ygritte, Tormund, and Longspear. And then he talks about every other wildling. Varamir, the
hashtag not all wildlings.
Yeah, Harma, the Weeper, the Frozen Shore Walrus Men, the Ice River clans that are cannibals, the Cave Dwellers with their blue and purple faces, and the Hornfoot Men who are so smart that they don't wear boots in the fucking freezing cold. And he said he didn't see any Snarks or Grumpkins, but I'm kind of waiting for them to show up in the books too. Let's see. So he recalls Winterfell, and it's kind of sad because he's like listing all the people that we haven't seen since Winterfell was burnt. They have cool fire flingers in their train as he's listing like everything in the back of the train. I don't know what fire flingers are. And
maybe like wildling pyromancers?
Ooh, maybe. That'd be cool. While mentioning Ygritte, he does this creepy comparison with Arya, which was kind of gross. And then everyone sings The Last of the Giants, and we finally get a song other than The Bear and the Maiden Fair, or song lyrics, I should say. And then they get the Fist of the First Men. Well, Jon first is attacked by an eagle, and Ygritte is like, look what they did to his cute face. And so that sucks. But Mance wants to see him, and they're at the Fist of the First Men, and Mance is like, okay, like, real talk here. What the fuck? Like, how many people were here? Who was commanding? And Jon tells him, answers all his questions, and then Ygritte saves his bacon by saying that they're banging, and it ends with Ygritte saying, yeah, why don't you have Ghost sleep somewhere else, and so we can, make that truth.
No, she doesn't say, why don't you? She's like, yeah, Ghost is sleeping somewhere else tonight.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's basically the chapter.
So, yes, it is. Didn't miss a beat at all. And so let's just go over real quick. I want to go over a little bit about Tormund and why he's so awesome. And so this is just like from his like Westeros page, and stuff pulled from the books. He has so many names: Tormund Giantsbane, Tormund Giant Stink, the Giantsbane, Tall Killer, Hornblower, Breaker of Ice, Tormund Thunderfist, Husband of Bears, the Mead King of Ruddy Hall, kind of my favorite.
Which is my favorite,
yeah. Because like Ruddy Hall just sounds like an awesome place for these guys. Speaker to Gods and Father of Hosts. Let's see, he is, where is it? It is also said that he can laugh the snow off mountains, and he distrusts the men of the frozen shore. He also does not know how to read. So there you go.
He also doesn't like the Thens, right? Or is that the show?
On the show, the Thens are like cannibal, weirdos or whatever. I don't think he likes Stir, right?
He doesn't like Steer, and he doesn't like Rattleshirt. Even in this chapter, he's like a true bro to Jon when Rattleshirt comes up and he's like, "Hey, get your fucking hawk off of him, or else, put your sword in your hand, because that's where you'll find mine."
Sorry, like what the heck?
Yeah, he's a good bro.
Yeah, he is.
There's a fun fact. The sheath for his sword is made out of the other half of his penis that was cut off. Anyway,
Oh my God.
I feel like Tormund is the Chuck Norris facts of the Westeros universe. Like,
oh, definitely.
Tormund Giantsbane went south once, and they built a wall. Anyway, so
he didn't go south. North followed him.
Yeah. He doesn't consider that south because he lives in the south. You just don't know what's up north. Okay, so this is a great chapter, right? Like, there's just a lot of cool imagery here. Jon like totally gets called out.
Oh yeah,
and almost totally dies. I mean, I guess it's and this is kind of, you see the debate coming through these chapters of like, well, he's like, well, how do I pretend to turn my cloak without actually turning my cloak? He sees all the dead Black Brothers of the Fist, and it's like, clearly he didn't warn them. He wasn't like, oh yeah, they were camped here to ambush you, and Mance and everybody realizes that. But it is kind of weird that all of a sudden Ygritte's like, oh yeah, he's fucking me every night. And then Mance is like, well, all right. So all I need to know. You're like,
it's like, well, it's no red silk built into your cloak, but it'll do.
But I guess, like, because we're supposed to believe, because the Black Brothers are sworn to an oath, right? And they, he's not going to sleep with anyone, except we know none of them really follow that. But somehow the fact that like, oh, well, he's having sex. Well, all right, that means he must not be into it anymore. Like, yeah, it's a really weird jump of logic, or maybe it's just Mance is like, it's just an excuse for him to keep Jon going and not kill him yet, because he has a purpose for him. I don't know.
He's like, maybe that's like baby steps of becoming a wildling. Like, okay, so you took a wildling wife. Okay, well, all right, I could still see you having feelings for your brothers in black, but okay, so maybe that's why you held out. But okay, you're getting there. You're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, but still, the whole thing. I'm not sure it makes sense that they would accept Jon even from the beginning. Like, you don't really like Mance is obviously a cool character, and they have this whole discussion and everything, but there's not that many things that Jon can help them with, and obviously he's not telling them the few things he knows, so
yeah, I mean, like, telling them, hey, look, they're camped out at the Fist, like, warning them about that, like, would have been kind of a big thing, like, he could have done.
Yeah, that's like the first thing you would do if you were really wanting to be with the wildlings, and he's not doing that. So,
but it's also something you might have held back, because you're like, I don't know if they're gonna, they might not accept me. So you're like, well, I'm gonna hold back some crucial information like that, maybe to save my life.
Yeah, but
what was his what was his like story for switching over because he was a bastard? But,
Yeah, I think so.
What was his story like that they were just on a raiding party or a scout party? So he could have just been like weird.
Is that he said he was with the half hand, right?
Yeah.
And did he say he came from the Shadow Tower? I don't remember. But he was trying to say, yeah, there was only like 20 of us or whatever. There wasn't that many of us.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, yeah, you clearly had to have known about all these people. Like, come on, spill the beans. What happened here? Who was here? What's going on? Yeah. And then I guess he basically tells him like, well, I guess like all the Black Brothers were here, and it looks like they're all dead now. So you can just go to the wall and you're good to go. Like,
yeah, it's really strange though. Why would Mance assume that like this kid would? I mean, couldn't Jon just plead ignorance, be like, oh, Mormont must have sent out this huge party, like. Strange.
No, but, I mean, Mance is smart, right? So Mance knows that, like, okay, maybe he knew about this, right? And I'm sure he allows for the fact that, like, well, maybe he's just telling the truth. But so you don't come up and go, okay, did you know about this, or what's the truth? And like give them a chance to just stick to the story. You go, I know you were lying. Like you confront them with it. You like throw it in their face and see how they react. And how they react, whether they lie, like a good person who's able to read people will know, regardless of their answer, when you put them like forward like that, whether they're telling the truth. Because if he stuck to his story and was like, whoa, I don't know who was here, I didn't know this was going on, we were in a different direction, like he probably would have been like, okay, I believe you if that was the truth, right? So you don't want to give them like an easy question, or like this is something they can just go, oh, okay, yeah, I wasn't aware of that. Like I know you were aware of it. I don't know. Yeah,
I get your point. Can we wonder about the actual placing of this chapter, because it comes before the Sam chapter, and I mean we left off in the prologue with Chet and the very beginning of the attack. I mean, not even the attack, just the horn blowing, and then we pick up with Jon, and he arrives at the Fist before we actually have the account of what happens with I mean the account Sam gives. So I guess it was just a matter of suspense. Like we see the Fist devastated, and we don't know yet what happened. Yeah.
Which I think that's that's how he intended it. That's definitely
obviously
good writing for sure.
I think it makes more sense that the way he placed it than chronologically in there, because we would have had the Jon chapter just afterwards, and like there's no shock, no like we
and I mean, and it's already. It's like Feast Dance with Davos, spoilers, right? But in the chronological order, it takes everything out of that, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it definitely makes sense where he had it, because it feels like, let's see, this is 16 chapters in, and then, the first Sam chapter is not that far away, so you're only about 3 chapters away, so at least you get this what the hell, and then you keep reading, and he rewards you pretty quickly with what actually happened.
Yeah. Whereas between the prologue and this, or between the prologue and Sam, it's like half the book. I don't know, like not half the book, but it's quite huge.
It's a quarter of the book for sure.
Yeah, 18 chapters, and that's a lot. So I was just wondering, when is the Sam chapter happening? Like
2 days before?
2 days before this chronologically.
Yeah, and it's when he kills the other and he remembers about the Fist.
Right.
How many days ago was that? Because we have the prologue and then like 18 chapters, so it must have been, I mean, it feels like.
So if Sam's chapter was 2 days before Jon finding the Fist.
Yeah.
The Fist must have happened 3 to 4 days before Jon, right?
And like that was like
Sam's?
Yeah. And the prologue was like 2 or 3 reread episodes ago, something like that. Yeah.
What's
Anyway,
about
it's just
Oh.
it's just interesting to see, like, in the published order, you just really have a quarter of the book, and it's actually happening almost at the same time.
Huh. Yeah, that is interesting. And
I mean,
the
sometimes
amount of
with
shit
the
that just happened in between, like in between, like a day and a half, 2 days.
yeah,
Like,
and you've had 18 chapters, and I get that he does that also to spread out these chapters, like some chapters, that so that we don't have them all at the beginning. But still, it's sometimes the linear order is not that different from the chronological order. It's just the published order is just a bit of mixing up the characters, but then it's just it's really striking.
Yeah, so the prologue takes place on the 1st of November, and then Sam, it's the 9th of November, right?
Okay.
So that's like a week,
wow.
roughly
But
a week.
have they been like walking in the cold for like a week?
I mean, I'm guessing when they got away, I mean, the battle probably takes, let's say it takes the better part of the day there, and then they're out.
Yeah.
They're on the way out, and they're on the run that whole time. So they've been split up, and they're being hunted down.
Then good on Sam, because like I always assumed like they had been walking for like a day, maybe 2 days. But yeah, walking for like a week straight, that must fucking be exhausting. I wonder if
Yeah.
he's tired.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I figured, like, I guess in my head, I kind of thought, yeah, this was like maybe a day later or a couple days later, but it took them a while to get where they were at, so it does make sense. And that they don't have their horses anymore; they're not moving particularly fast. Yeah, I don't know.
Do you want to hear my crackpot theory about this chapter?
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me get my tinfoil.
Okay, so Harma Dogshead puts a new dog's head on her staff every fortnight. That means that how many dogs is she actually taking care of? My theory is that she actually loves dogs because she takes care of so many just so once every 2 weeks she could cut off one of their heads. Like, they have to be fed, they have to be housed. That's a lot of work. Anyway, that's it.
No, but she steals it from other wildlings.
Do they say that?
No, I don't know. It's just.
Yeah, you see, I think she has like a home for lost puppies that like she takes care of them, make sure that they're big and grown and old, and then beheads them.
Oh my god.
Well,
I mean, you have to have a lot of stock to kill a dog every 2 weeks.
Yeah, she hates dogs, and she kills one every fortnight to create a new totem for her banner. I mean, maybe that's just what they eat is dog, There's a lot of dogs up there. Maybe not. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Did you really think that there would be a lot of dogs? Like wolves, I get, but...
Yeah, someone's feeding those dogs. Someone's taking care of those dogs. That's all I'm saying. And I think it's her, and she really likes dogs and wants them to be her totem because they represent her.
You think she's... Yeah. She just wished that she was part of a house dog.
Yeah, and she never got to be, so she's angry. But really, she was like angry because she wants to be them. Anyway, pressing forward.
Don't worry, Matt. We'll just file that.
I feel like we haven't said much, but...
Yeah, I mean, like, because there's...
Did you not hear the Harmon's doghead theory?
There's a lot unpacked in this chapter, really. I mean, because we go from him, like, integrating with the wildlings to, to them being like, wait a second, to him being attacked by the eagle, to Ygritte being like finally going to get some of that sweet, sweet Lord's kiss. I do love how like Jon is so confused that it's like, oh, these others are so weird. He's like, some of them are so charming, but they're so weird. It's like they prefer rape to marriage, and like and then and Tormund's like, well, why aren't you sleeping with you stole her, you killed the two dudes, and obviously she's yours now.
Yeah,
and it's like a weird culture too, because like they're not weak women, right? So, but like she's obviously got her sights set on Jon. It's like Jon or bust, right? So
about that, like he says, no wonder the people in Westeros or the Seven Kingdoms think like these people are subhuman. All they want to do is like rape and raise bastards, and it's like, I'm sorry, we just like spent so much time in the Riverlands, and basically there was all the rape. You're an actual bastard, so like
yeah. And I mean,
it's like everything happens everywhere, but these people are subhuman.
And like that's also a little bit of his castle upbringing coming in, because like, come on, like who cares about bastards really, outside of the nobility, and especially up there, it's like, oh, they don't get married or whatever, but like, are they really bastards? It's just their culture. It's not like a bastard is just a way to differentiate from like their ideal, and these people don't share that ideal. So
I don't know. This chapter, like I said, it's bonkers. It's all over the place.
Oh yeah, and I got to listen to Roy Tree sing "The Last of the Giants," which is treat.
Don't even want to know.
I'm really waiting for the album Dotree Sings. It's gonna be great. Songs from the Seven Kingdoms, sung by a leprechaun. I guess there's only like 4 songs, but still, yeah.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah, I have the John Avers version of the audiobook. It's much better.
Oh really? I haven't heard that one.
Oh, it sounds human.
It's not as funny though. I love Dotrice. What's up with Varamir's 6 skins, by the way? Do we think he's limiting himself? Because he seems to be a pretty powerful ward. Yeah, exactly. Like he's got it's whole Varamir's 6 skins over there. He's got a bear, a shadow cat,
3 wolves,
some wolves, and something else. I think that.
Well, we are not at 6, so there must be something else. But I don't
a shadow cat.
We said that.
We said that. He's got a bear, a shadow cat, 3 wolves. That's 5.
The funny thing is in the recap it says no.
Or himself. Him. He's the 6th skin, right?
In the recap itself, he's a warg that controls a snow bear, 3 wolves, and a shadow cat, and even more exotic people. And when you just don't read the following, and I mean the end of the sentence, it's like he also controls people, but they don't say what's the 6th animal is.
Eventually, but I'm like, it's like he wants ghosts, right? Eventually, he's like, oh man, I could get up in that.
Direwolf.
Yeah. But it's like eventually you'd think he'd just like keep, because he's fairly powerful controlling all of that. Like why wouldn't he just keep adding to it? Eventually he's like, well, now I'm Varamir 25 skins. Like,
well, I guess it's not. I mean, I would assume that every time you add one, it's getting harder to control them all. So,
I guess
it's saturated,
And he doesn't have the that Stark blood, so he's not as good as he could be.
Yeah. But in the it must be the prologue for Dance, I think. We have a bit of his backstory and how he was first Varamir, 3 skins and then 5, and then we have
wasn't he originally Lump or Bump or something like that?
Yeah, exactly. Like he was Lump
as he slowly loses himself and then tries to take over that girl, right?
Yeah, that's awful. But yes, so I don't have everything in mind, but maybe we would have more precision on how the whole warging stuff works and why he stopped at 6. And
yeah, because I feel like there are mammoths there, and like maybe maybe that's a good thing to have.
Or warg into a giant. That'd be pretty fun.
I'm not sure you can warg into a mammoth. I don't know.
Why
not?
You could warg into a Hodor.
Bran could do it.
Yeah, but Bran is Bran.
Yeah.
He's gonna warg into a dragon. It is known.
Bloodraven's probably doing it all the time. He's just like, I control all of the animals north of the wall.
Varamir, I mean, when Bran walks into Hodor, he doesn't grab control. I mean, he has control of him at the moment, but it's not like the 6 animals that are just following Varamir. I mean, he's linked to all 6, and it's not exactly what happens with Bran and Hodor, right?
Right, that's true.
I guess if you're powerful enough, you can basically walk into almost anyone, anything, but it doesn't mean that you can. It doesn't mean that you can actually keep a stable link, even without actually controlling it, actively controlling the.
Yeah, because he has to exert his willpower kind of all the time, probably, especially over that bear.
Yeah. How do the cave people dye their face and their I don't know, like they dye their face blue and green?
Flowers.
Feels like just feels like not something you would come by easily north of the wall to actually dye your face like 24 hours. It's just
it's probably like there's like blue and green insects up there they crush down,
Oh.
I think they're just really, really cold.
That's other poop. The others poop green and blue.
Oh god.
We don't know what it is, but it makes great for dyeing your hair. Let's see. Oh yeah, Rattleshirt. Being Rattleshirt.
Do you think it's smart for him to wear a giant skull helmet around giants?
But maybe that was his bro, and he wears it in honor of him.
He had a giant ride or die?
Yeah. Pull one out for my homie and take his skull and wear it like a helmet. Oh, yeah. I mean, practically, that'd be a pretty scary looking thing. The show version of Rattleshirt kind of sucks. I mean, the look of it is not as cool as my imagination.
It's never cool in my imagination. Like I can't understand the purpose. I can understand like it's not fashion. It's just why are you walking around in bones?
Because everyone needs a shtick. It wasn't a warg, so it could be, whatever hairy 7 skin. It has to be Rattleshirt.
Yeah, so that we can have this big info dump of all the wildlings and all of their weird names and weird habits.
I do feel like that George was, when he came up with the wildlings, probably spent a couple of days or whatever and just came up with like some really metal names, and this is what happened. Like it's like, oh yeah, Rattleshirt. Yeah, I don't know what that means, but it's Rattleshirt. Like.
Well,
I mean, this was, what, the 90s, right? So
yeah, I'm sure like Lord of Bones was like a fucking high school band that like went through like Santa Fe one day.
Yeah, Lord of Bones. I still have the shirt from their 1985 concert tour.
Saw like a pimped out panel van with like
Giantsbane open for them.
A guy riding a polar bear. He's like, yep, I'm gonna need Varamir to be riding a snow bear.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the bear cavalry.
It feels like it's a bit exaggerated, though.
The Mormonts. Yeah, it is. They're a bit caricaturish, I guess, some of them.
Yeah.
But also part of it is, is that they create this mythos for themselves too, right? I mean, everyone in this world seems to do that. They play up their reputation I mean, even Jaime sometimes owns the whole Kingslayer thing when he wants to. So why don't we move on ahead? Let's see, what is the next chapter we're doing? Arya 4. Let's see. Arya 4 is only one day after Jon II, so it's at basically the same period of time. But we jump quite a bit ahead. It's like, what, 6 or 7 chapters ahead in the book, I think. Like Arya 3 in the book hasn't even come up by the time you read Jon II.
Okay, here we go. So Arya, Gendry, Greenbeard, Tom, Enguy, Lem, Howin, Jack Bilecki, and the rest of the outlaws, because we apparently haven't listed them all right there, are at a half-ruined keep trying to track down Lord Beric. The old man there keeps going on about how he held Sir Maniard at the bridge. His master tells them that Beric has been hanged. Lem says that this is true, but Thoros cut him down in time. 3 days later, they stop at a village hidden in the trees, and a village that is run by a woman called the Lady of the Leaves. She tells them that Beric is dead as well, killed when Gregor stabbed him through the eye. Lem tells her that this is an old tale and false. The next day, they stop at the ruins of a village called Salidance. The Septon there tells them that northern men came through and looted the Sept while looking for Jaime. They stay there that night, and the next day come to a place called High Heart. The hill is surrounded by the stumps of 31 werewoods. Tom explains that the place was sacred to the children of the forest. The locals claim it is haunted by the spirits of the children that were killed there by the Endel king, Eric the Kingslayer. That night, a storm wakes Arya, and she sees Greenbeard, Tom, and Lem talking to a shrunken old woman. She's telling them that the old gods will not let her sleep and send her dreams. She has dreamed of a shadow with a burning heart butchering a stag, a man without a face waiting on a bridge with a drowned crow with seaweed on its wings on his shoulder, and a woman who was a fish with red tears on her cheeks, who is dead but her eyes open. She asks Tom for a song in return. The next morning, Arya asks Tom about her, and he says that she's just an old dwarf woman, but she did point them in the right direction to find Beric. They finally come to Acorn Hall, and Lady Ravella Smallwood greets them. When she learns that Arya is noble-born, she has her bathed and clothed with her daughter's garments. Her daughter is currently in Old Town, staying with a great aunt who is a scepter. Lady Ravella informs them that Lord Beric stayed there a fortnight past and tells them where to look for him. She also tells them that Northmen came looking for Jaime, and they tell Arya to leave while they talk of these things, and she and Gendry go to check out the forge. They talk and then start to wrestle, and when they return to the castle, Ravella gives Arya another bath, and the next morning they ride off. Here we go.
Yeah, we get some uncomfortable Arya and Gendry wrestling.
Exactly.
It's like in the chapter, it's like uncomfortable, and they're like, I don't know, and then you remember how old they are, and I don't know what's going on there. Probably nothing. Yeah. People are weird. Yeah. So Arya keeps moving.
Yeah, it's like these Arya chapters where you're like, where is she at the moment? I don't really understand where they're going, and you really have to
get a map out.
Yeah, you get a map out, and you're like, where were they in the previous chapter, and where are they going now? And it's getting even worse when they meet up the Hound and everything, and it's Wandering in the Riverlands, that's his theme, apparently.
They're just
we have
going
it
in
with
circles,
Brienne as
man.
well.
No one knows how to get out of the Riverlands. It's the Bermuda Triangle of Westeros. But I do think it's great. Where is it where they talk about the Maester tells him that Lord Barrick's been hanged, and Lem's like, yeah, but Thoros cut him down in time.
Yeah,
like, yeah, he got
right.
better. Like,
and
oh
no,
he was
that's
also
not true.
he also had a lance through his heart a couple weeks ago, but he's fine now. He's fine. It's just a flesh wound, Oh. Yeah. So this is not like the worst chapter or anything, but
no, we actually have the first. Well, not a lot except for the few prophecies we have, or predictions, or whatever you want to call them. Yeah, the Ghost of Highheart, and it's actually quite straightforward when you know. But like the shadow with the burning heart is obviously Stannis, butchering a stag, or Stannis, or Melisandre, but like. And there's the whole foreshadowing of Balon
Balon's death, yeah.
And that one is, I think, the main hint towards the theory that Euron killed by a faceless man, because a man without a face,
a drowned crow, and of course, at this point you're thinking like like a black brother from Pike or something, because that's all right?
Yeah, you don't really. I think, like, on my first reads, mostly what I do with the prophecies is just move on. Just okay, next. I don't know what that means. Even I did that with the House of the Undying. It's a very powerful chapter, but I can't really read between the lines. So when I don't get it, I'm just like, well.
Yeah, you shouldn't be able to with your first read. And it's best. I agree. I think it's best not to try to spend too much time on it. Some of them, like, it's nice, like patch face, and like, what the hell's wrong with this guy? To go through and just be like, I'll try to remember that later. Of course, I don't remember it later until I've read through again, and I go, oh, that was the Red Wedding. Whoops! Like, he told us this way in advance, But if it was super obvious, then it would be really bad writing, right?
Yeah, obviously, but I feel like these ones are pretty when and there's also there's Caitlyn, obviously a woman who was a fish with red tears on her cheeks, who's dead, the eyes open. That's definitely Lady Stoneheart. You obviously cannot understand that.
It's weird to me because he puts these things in. They're obviously story devices, the visions and the prophecies, and some of them end up being like pretty. Wow, that was right accurate. And other ones you're like, what is that? Is that going to happen? Is that who knows? So, but it is weird because it's not just like from one person, or like where does it all come from if there's so many different people? Who do we have that like gives us like fairly accurate visions or prophecies in the book? We get Maggie the Frog, we get the Ghost of Highheart, we get Melisandre with her flames, which are kind of all over the place. The Warlocks in the House of the Undying. Patchface has got something going on. Half of his stuff though is misdirection, I think. Like there's so much of it.
It's so frustrating being Arya. Like, she's a child, so it makes sense that they don't talk about important stuff in front of her. But it's like every time they start talking, they tell her to go out, and it's.
But she's involved. She's like front and center in this stuff, and I don't know, like the Stark kids in general, and a lot of these characters go through so much. There's like so many unfortunate things that happen, but I think like for me, like the worst part of Arya's story is when she reveals who she is, and it's like, oh, they can help me, finally, and It's like, oh,
and
I'm
they
not.
don't.
Yeah, I'm not your father's man anymore. Sorry. And
Yeah.
like that's just so heartbreaking.
Yeah, but it's all because we have her point of view, and it's always like these kids are really young. It doesn't necessarily show in the writing. I mean, it shows, but they're still more mature in the writing than we would expect, I think. But like, to be fair, being adults with just this kid trying to take part in the conversations and I mean, say what he means and have a role in the decisions. Even it's fair that she would have a part in the decisions that concerns her, but still, like, it makes sense that they would dismiss her. It's just
But I mean, let's say she were home, right, and she was the last Stark left. Like, she would have a part, even at her age. She would have a part in every decision. Like, she may not they may overrule her sometimes, like the people kind of ruling things, but at the same time, like, really, she would be in charge.
Like, do you think that if like, I don't know, somehow she was at Winterfell, never mind, like, she was in Bran's place, Bran and Rickon are not there,
and it was like Roderick.
Yeah, really not sure that they would have groomed her like they groomed Bran.
Well, I feel like if she was the last, if she's not the last Stark, like if Robb and everybody's still out doing stuff, they ignore her. But if it's like, well, everyone but her is dead, then like, yeah, they like she's
in that
queen of the castle, right?
Maybe. Yeah, definitely. I really don't get the Brotherhood in these chapters. Like, they're just looking for Beric, but in the meantime, like, stuff is happening, and it's so frustrating for Arya that she was so close, and then back south, and then back north, and they're like, they could have made a decision.
She was so close. They could have, like, executive decision. We're gonna go to Riverrun and be like, hey, I got Arya. Give me a bag or two of gold, and I'll bring her up. My buddy will bring her up, and we're done.
Yeah, right? Like, they don't.
But instead, they got to find Beric, and they're like, wait a second, you're a group of outlaws, and you don't even really have a base to operate from. Like,
it could take years. I mean,
can you guys hear me now?
Odysseus, to me, in these like series of chapters, she's so close to home. Like, basically, at several points, can see it, and she keeps getting blown away. And it's just tragic and heartbreaking, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, like, even if George wanted to keep, like, screwing them over, like, she could have gotten to Riverrun, and then, you know, eventually Riverrun gets taken. Maybe she never leaves, you know? I mean, because
I find it very heartbreaking when she, I don't know if it was in this chapter or not, when she considers whether or not Robb would actually ransom her. Like, with all the shit that she's done?
Yeah.
Or even after.
I think that's the chapter where they capture
them,
her.
Let's go back. And he's like, no, dude, they're dead.
And when they were at the Inn of the Kneeling Man, right? Like the chapter just before or before again. And that's where Jaime and Brienne were a few days before that.
Yeah.
And that was quite close to Riverrun, because Jaime and Brienne had been traveling, but not that far. I mean, they arrived there in the boat, right? So it's really not that far from Riverrun. You felt like she was actually going in the right direction by herself. And when you compare on the map just the distance from Harrenhal to the Inn of the Kneeling Man and the inn to Riverrun, you're like, she had made most of the distance by herself. That's just so frustrating.
Yeah. The Kneeling Man is just like right on the road there. I mean, ugh.
It's crazy when you look at a map and like see how close Riverrun is to Harrenhal, because she's always so far away from it, just with whatever her situation is, that in my mind, like, it is a big long journey, but it's really just a few days ride or so. And she's
According
always
to the map, it's only an inch away.
Yeah, it's like, I could touch it from here. I mean, Does anyone else, I don't know, get like the inn at the crossroads and the inn of the kneeling man? Like sometimes when I'm reading, I'm like, wait, which one is where? Because like they're two places where people show up. Like oh, they were just here. At both of those places.
The other thing is, did anyone catch like the symbolism of her, like them being there at the end of the kneeling man, and that like that's where the North gave up their crown, and that's like kind of her brother is about to lose his crown, and she's losing part of her family, like part of her pack, and she's losing her power. There's a lot of tie-ins there.
It is kind of far south too. I guess like on my first reread when they talk about the North and the Aegon and all that, I just assumed it was like at the entrance to the North. He was like, oh, dragons, here's my crown.
Yeah, like more in the neck or something.
Yeah. But like Moat Cailin or something. But
I mean White Harbor, yeah.
You have the acorn dress, and she's like so sad. She's like, sorry, I messed up your acorn dress. Like. After the fact. Oh.
Then she gets another bath.
Oh, a
bath.
She
doesn't want to wear that shit
I've had 2 baths this year.
Yeah.
I love it. Isn't it in Clash where she feels bad for like all the like lice and shit like that she's gonna kill because like they've been around with her the entire time.
Every life is precious, so I can't take a bath.
Yeah. I just have to murder people. So I tried to type this in the chat thread, but the Lady of the Leaves Village, what do you imagine that looks like? The Robin Hood scene from the Kevin Costner version, or like an Ewok village?
More like the Men in Tights version.
No, yeah, I feel like the Kevin Costner version, like, which is kind of the Ewok village. I'm pretty sure, actually, didn't they have like the Star Wars Ewok playset? Didn't they like repurpose that for that movie when they came out with toys? I feel like that's a thing.
Did they?
I thought they did. I don't know. I could be wrong.
So what else do we got?
Well, I mean, that's it. We went through Arya while you were gone, mostly.
Hey,
and yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's not a ton in this chapter, like we were saying. It's just kind of Arya,
How many times
travel.
Go, like back and read the High Heart stuff? I think like when I first read it, I read it like 3 times right in a row, and I still was just not getting it.
See, that's what we were saying is like the first time, like I don't really spend too much time on those because I don't know. Like it's when I go through on rereads where I'm like, wait, what is this?
I don't think you're supposed to pick up on it like in the first read through. It's just like, oh, this is this bizarre character who.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the hope of the author is that maybe you remember it later and it goes like, oh, foreshadowing, that was awesome. But, that's about it.
Well, I mean, I knew she was important because the whole setting to me reminded me of, like, stuff you read in the Chronicles of Narnia, like, with Aslan and stuff, just, like, the whole tone of that scene. But the little details of it have only been made clear to me now
Except
that I've
there wasn't, like, a talking animal being like...
I don't know. I mean, don't rule that out. That little High Heart lady is... She's like a mole woman.
She's really like a badger.
Yeah, it's just like...
High Heart has one of the lampposts on it,
Oh yeah, if you take stuff here, it'll grow. So we grow lampposts here in the magical kingdom. Whatever. It's like, oh, can I bring like a gold brick and like have a gold brick tree? Because that'd be great.
No,
like people don't know
how
how to use these
too much gold. You
right?
flood the market and actually devalue it.
No, it doesn't go the other way though. Like it doesn't. You can't bring it back through the wardrobe. That's the thing.
Of course you can.
No, that's not how it works. You need to reread.
Only when Lewis doesn't want it to work that way. Other times it does.
Gonna do a reread.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining me. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully this will be published soon-ish. Let's see. What are we doing on our next reread? I believe that's Patrick. He'll be discussing Jaime 4, Cat 4, Dany 5, and Cat 5, maybe. That's November 13th through November 15th of 299. So look forward to that, especially if Patrick is your favorite host, because I think he is for most of us.
Obviously.
All right.
Well, according to him, he is.
Thanks, guys. Thank
Bye,
you.
Adam.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Adam.
Okay, we're done now.
No, that's not how it works. You need to reread.
only when Lewis doesn't want it to work that way. Other times it does.
You're gonna do a reread.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining me. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully this will be published soon-ish. Let's see. What are we doing on our next reread? I believe that's Patrick. He'll be discussing Jamie 4, Cat 4, Dany 5, and Cat 5, maybe. That's November 13th through November 15th of 299. So look forward to that, especially if Patrick is your favorite host, because I think he is for most of us.
Obviously.
All right.
Well, according to him, he is.
Thanks, guys. Thank
Bye, Adam.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Adam.
Okay, we're done now.